And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another video on the Grade A Flicks channel. As Grade A Fantasy will go over his top plays and strategic plays at the wide receiver position for the Week 6 slate on FanDuel. Welcome back. I hope you all were able to at least check out the running back quarterback video. I'll put the description of those into the description. Let's get right into this. I wanted to wait because who knows if there's any potential open value that might pop up. This is the first slate in a long while, dating back to even last season, that we have a pretty much straight up forward, slate where possibly when it becomes to certain positions, the lowest you could possibly go is maybe the high fives. But as you saw in the running back video, there were some opportunities that could possibly happen where I kind of mentioned there's possibilities at running back you could possibly end up going into the mid fives, kind of like how Jordan Mason was week 1 and week 2. So those are the plays that I'm going to try and find you guys today. But along with that, like I said, minimal value. But as of right now, we're going to be looking at what the top plays are currently with the injury situation. Starting number 1 and number 2, both of these guys are worth their price. 95 and 93, Jamar Chase. That defense may not be working, but the offense sure is. Jamar Chase against the Giants, Cee Dee Lamb at home against Detroit. Like I said, the running back, and as I always mention, no matter what the matchup is, I feel like players like Jamar Chase and Cee Dee Lamb are matchup proof, especially going against Detroit. I have a strong feeling no matter what the matchup is, even if it's a bad run defense, the Cowboys' run offense is non-existent. So the volume just has to be there. They have to get the ball down the field somehow, whether it's Cee Dee Lamb running deep, whether if he's running a short out, whether he's running a 10 to 12 yard out, maybe an 8 to 9 yard out, comeback, curl, whatever it is, they're getting the ball to Cee Dee Lamb into the other pass catchers. Amon-Ra St. Brown right there on the opposite side. Dallas defense is a bit beat up. I like the opportunity there with Amon-Ra. Definitely viable to have a good game against this defense. This defense is not it definitely hasn't shown within the first month of the season its high tendency to cause pressure and commit turnover. That hasn't really done that since week 1 against a bad, what we know now is definitely a bad and pathetic Cleveland Browns offense. So Amon-Ra is there. It's just a case of, like I said, there's 3 different ways, but a lot of people just so priced up automatically. You're looking at it. It's not like somebody's like 95 and it drops all the way down to 8,000. Like if you're gonna get Jamar Chase, you're gonna have to either pick somebody cheaper, the 7s or the 6s, and then stack them with Burrow, or unless you choose a double stack. You're not gonna be, if you try to do something like pick one of their quarterbacks, but then try to get the other guy with them for like some high upside, you're already committing to a lot of your salary. So as you can see by all these guys being priced up, and then it doesn't really start dropping really from 9,000 all the way to 82 because Nico Collins is on injured reserve with the hamstring. Speaking of Nico, with Nico down, we have to get into this real quick. If I run into somebody who has a key injury, we will list the options instead of talking about them later. So, as of right now, Robert Woods dealing with a foot, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. Let me tell you something. Besides, obviously, in the tight end video, yes, it is good salary for the opportunity that Schultz, the tight end, has at 5,300, I think he is, 53 or 52. But when I saw this kid in the preseason, this guy is long, rangy, has the speed to run on the side. He will be playing the deep threat Xavier Hutchinson, which means without a doubt you'll have him on the left, or more likely you'll have him on the right. You'll have Tank Dell to the left, and then obviously Stephon Diggs playing the slot. And then, like I said, it still opens up more for Schultz also to run the middle. But for big play and for some salary relief, do not count out Xavier Hutchinson. He definitely showed out a lot during the preseason. There's a reason why he made the team, and he started off gangbusters in preseason game, especially in the Hall of Fame game. This kid has a lot of deep threat skills for 4,900. He could probably get down the field behind this New England defense and probably catch one deep. He also has that long range body where it's kind of easy for him to go over the middle and get those tough catches. From what I saw in preseason, do not count out Xavier Hutchinson at 49. Obviously, Robert Woods, he's dealing with a foot injury. The vet, the thing with him, it looks like he's going to play, but news is if he does play, regardless, he will be limited. So that means he won't be playing that many snaps. So it will be a bunch of 3 or maybe even 2 wide receiver sets to not stress out everybody. Diggs and Dell looks like they'll get the most, obviously with Xavier. Maybe we might see some John Mechie, but right now the news is Xavier Hutchinson looks to be next in line. And then, of course, like I said, you'll have Schultz to count on for some value as well. Let's get back to the rest of the wide receiver core. When it comes to top plays, it's going to be great to have both, for Jalen Hurts to have both A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith. One at Devontae at 73, A.J. at 81. They're just going to be fresh and ready to go to attack this Cleveland defense. Yes, Cleveland defense is still a good defense, but with the way the offense is, just expect, and not only will I get to that, like Philly's defense looked like one of the best plays this week, but not only that, with as bad as the Cleveland, you got to look at it this way fantasy-wise. Turnovers and the way Cleveland's offense is going, how many times that they can go 3 and out, well, guess what? That means more opportunities for A.J. Brown to get along with Saquon Barkley and Devontae Smith. As we keep going, I will not hesitate to go back. to Jaden Reed. He probably burned a lot of people last week, and that's one of those plays where you like to go into them because maybe the salary, and the funny thing is the salary went up. It was $72. He didn't have the greatest of games, and it went up $500. So I think a lot of people got burned and probably won't want to pick him. I think this is one of those weeks where you counter and you do pick Jaden Reed. Obviously, T. Higgins falls into the same kind of spot. He's just majorly discounted at $7,600. Chris Godwin. Here's the thing. If y'all don't pay attention to fantasy or just football in general, the last 4 or 5 years, when Tampa Bay and New Orleans get together, it's never pretty. It gets very chippy, it gets very mouthy, it gets very physical. Why do I bring that up? The two arch rivals, Marcus Lattimore and Mike Evans, these two don't like each other. But here's the thing. Mike Evans does not have good games against Lattimore. He does not. So, this is where, literally, he's not known as one of the best shutdown corners in the league. But Mike Evans never, if ever, has had a good game against the Saints. And Marcus Lattimore is one of the reasons. Plus, Marcus Lattimore, maybe not be the best skill, but he gets into Mike Evans' head. So, I like Chris Godwin to pick up some of the slack there. Also, I'll be talking about him more, Kate out in the tight end video. So, definitely like that, going to Godwin at 75 to avoid you getting a 7 or a 0 or something. Like it doesn't get pretty for Mike Evans. Mike Evans does not play well against Marcus Lattimore, home or away. It just doesn't work out. It just doesn't. If you want me to go back, let's just go back recent. Let's go back to at least the COVID years. So 2020. Since 2020, he's had 2 touchdowns. Since 2020, the highest receiving yards he has ever had is 70. The most receptions he's ever had in the game, is 4. And in that game, he went 4 for 59, no touchdowns. I'm telling you guys, just by hearing those stats, just listen to these receptions. Pretty much, I'll give you the last 7 games for recency bias. The last 7 games, and it's been against Marcus Lattimore, since Halloween 2021. Okay, we'll go back that far. 2 receptions, 1 reception, 3 receptions, 4 receptions, 3 receptions, 3 receptions. Receiving yards. 70 was the high last year. 40, 59, 61, 14, 48. He hasn't had a game over 70 yards against the Saints since, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm looking here, 2018. And in 2018, he only went for 4 off 6 targets for 86 yards. But since 2018, only 2 touchdowns. He is a fade. Ladies and gentlemen, please go away from him. Go to Chris Godwin. Go to Kate Otten. You might even want to go to Rashad White, even him battling that groin injury, but at least he'll get some passes out the backfield. Let's get to Atlanta. They should be very chalk against the worst defense. I know I'm going to have a piece of them every single bit. You might be going for a stretch, going to Darrell Hodge, but as long as you have people like Drake London at 74, Darnell Mooney, if he gets by that his little knee issue at 65, if we keep going down, you should be able to find. Oh man, there goes Ray McLeod, the other wide receiver, 5,600. That's a difference maker and a salary saver. Now going all the way down to Hodge. Like I said, I'll group the value plays. I don't want to just scramble around and go back with the value plays later. But if I'm not mistaken, Cordero Hodge, 4,600. But he's only getting into the game if one of those people get hurt. Now, if one of those guys get ruled out, he's viable. Why? He runs in the slot, and he took that game-winning Tampa Bay wide touchdown reception home. Why? Because Drake London got hurt the play before. He was the first one off the bench. They put him in the slot. Boom. There he gone. And then he was gone for a 36-yard touchdown. That's why he has such a high fantasy points per game, because that's all he's done this season. Cordero Hodge is an option, but somebody has to get ruled out. And right now, the only person who looks like who has any injury, who's dealing with a knee issue, the only person who has the issue would be Darnell Mooney. But Darnell Mooney is trending to play because he's been given in limited practices all week. As we keep going down with another high game total, Zay Flowers at 72. That game expects to be high scoring. Once again, Washington's not the best defense. It helps because you have such a great quarterback that can extend drives with his legs, keeps them off the field, and they're not tired. So, but that game seems to be another high scoring. That's another one with a projection above 50. I think it's 51.5 or 52.5. Marvin Harrison Jr., after having that boom week 2, have been pretty quiet to average. Pretty quiet to average. Against Green Bay, you can look for a bounce back. Once again, Terry McLaurin in the Baltimore game as a running back on the other side. He has had great success with the rookie Jaden Daniels, so he's also a good pick right there. Like I said, we already went over with Tank Dell. Now, we'll go over. Here's another group that we'll go over with. Michael Pittman's doubtful, so that's already one guy out. Once you're doubtful later in the week, you're pretty much done. Now, here's another thing. He's still questionable, but Josh Downs did practice today. I guess this was kind of a maintenance day to see if he could give it a good practice Friday. Because if they let him rest and the toe's not better tomorrow, more than likely he could either be downgraded to doubtful or out. So, possible value. Adam Pierce, Adonai Mitchell, 58, 5,000, and Ashton Doolin will be next in line at 4,300. Almost the minimum. Here's the question. Will you even look at this value if it's Flacco? And if he's not in there, are you looking at the value if it's Anthony Richardson? That's the question. These are options, but I got a feeling people are going to leave these valuable pieces alone if both Josh Downs and Pittman are both out. And then, of course, you can look at the tight end options for the coach as well. But to look at this value here, Pierce would be the most expensive at 58, 5,043. That will possibly be the cheapest double stack if you get those guys there with Joe Flacco. But once again, we have to see if Joe Flacco is going to start this weekend. We also got to see if Josh Downs can manage at least some type of limited practice with his toe issue. So a lot of ifs, but a lot of possibilities that you all should be looking out for. So like I said, this slate is very barren of value. 6,300 Jameson Williams. He's helped me make some money this year. I'm definitely gonna go right back to him. Wan'Dale Robinson looks like another option, and it looks like another week for a high workload. Malik Neighbors did some light work on the side, but still really hasn't practiced as of yet. So Wan'Dale is looking good again. George Pickens against Las Vegas. I like him against that weak defense. It's looking like a mess for the Raiders right now. Of course, that's another thing too. Is it Justin Fields isn't Russell Wilson. Going back to that Detroit Dallas game, look, one of the if you're looking for like good price per dollar and what's considered value this week, 6,100 Jalen Tolbert is definitely going to be looked at. Even though his quarterback play is kind of suspect, I guess because of how bad that Indianapolis defense is, it's one of those I'm not trusting Will Levis, but will I take chances on a one-off Calvin Ridley? Sure you can. Darius Slayton looks like another solid option again at 5,900 Michael Wilson against Green Bay. DeAndre Hopkins, Tennessee, like I said, it's something that could be done if you sensible and possible one big play from one of your wide receivers at 5,800. Yeah, it's possible. Even if he doesn't get a touchdown, he pretty much pays off what he needs to do if he has like a 3 reception, 76-yard day because he caught like a 40 to 50-yard bomb early in the game and then barely does anything after that. But it's still something. It's better than a 0. As we keep scrolling down here, really, there's not really much I really want to talk about personally. Like I said, we already talked about Ray McLeod. Rashad Bateman, he's trending in the right direction. He did give it a practice. So Rashad Bateman against that Washington defense. When you get down this far, and Kevontae Turpin, that's about it. And then of course, like I said, with a high scoring game, the ball's gonna be flying all over the place. You could go to Olamide Zacchaeus. We already went to Donovan Mitchell, Tyler Boyd. But yeah, that's as far. Zacchaeus is probably as far. He did get a look. He does get deep looks from Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels does throw a great deep ball. So for 5,100, these are literally lottery tickets. But right now, when it comes to going down this cheap, when you're looking at going under 5,000 or you're right there at 5,000, Kevontae Turpin is definitely an option. Like I said, the fact that their running game sucks and you lose Brandon Cooks, like you got to rotate some of these guys in and out. And last week he did have 5 targets. As you can see, there 5 targets, 4 for 50. This is not Pittsburgh, okay? Detroit is not the Pittsburgh defense. So if he goes 4 for 50, you trying to tell me he can't get like 2 or 3 more targets there and maybe go 6 for 76 and maybe get a touchdown instead of Ferguson? It's possible. You got to try to find something if you're going to try to fit at least multiple stuff in your lineup this week. But once again, a lot of injury news has to come out. So that is pretty much it for me for the wide receiver preview. Like I said, hopefully some of these names stick with you in case you start hearing about any of these injuries. Once again, the quarterback and running back vids will be linked into the description. Thank you for tuning in. This is Grade A Fantasy signing off. Defenses and tight end will be recorded tonight. Either they'll be released tonight or they'll be recorded tonight and then released tomorrow in the morning.